Good morning. Or after, it's basically lunchtime now. I am going to give the behind the scenes look on the conclusion of this beautiful story arc and all the things that have occurred, because I can tell a lot of people maybe are confused by everything, especially my latest video that I titled LDS Linguistic Analysis. But before I begin all this, my mom recently visited, and so we made a bunch of Korean food and banchan, and oh, it's so good. And she had never, what's it called? She'd never seen the movie K-pop Demon Hunters. She watches YouTube every day for her source of entertainment. She was with me for 7 days. She's so adorable, my mom. There wasn't a single day where she didn't watch a video about the music and the movie K-pop Demon Hunters, like the behind the scenes nuances of people analyzing it and commenting on it, and so many beautiful things occurred from it. And I realized, I said, wait, you haven't seen this yet? And she's like, no. And so we watched it together. And so I call this my K-pop demon hunting diet. It's got all the banchan. We got firm. I got seaweed that we made. We got the bean sprouts. I have 2 types of bean sprouts, a spicy one, and then some that I grew from my own garden that I let grow a little too long, so it's got some roots on it, but still edible. We got kimchi, obviously. We got sweet potato stems. I got dandelion, aster, lavers, all sorts of good stuff here. But this is in honor of K-pop Demon Hunters, or inspired by that, because my mom just loved the music and the concept behind the movie. And I explained it to her why humans in general love it so much. And it's because it teaches you, just like the LDS framework, to be openly vulnerable and leave this state of fear. Don't be afraid to be yourself. Embrace who you are. It's unique and beautiful. Express yourselves. That's what that movie describes and shows. And also, I'm drinking this probiotic soda. So it's not a kombucha this time, a probiotic kombucha. But anyways, let me go into this. So the whole purpose between all this, honestly, I was just exploring my curiosity. But the more you explore things, the more you reflect and perceive things and understand your own actions and behavior, right? I can step back and analyze every single one of my actions. And I can talk about it all with ruthless clarity from whatever way. Like, that's why I think it's so adorable when people try to insult me, because it's so surface layer. I'm like, man, you got to go deeper than that. You are not tapping into real raw expression and emotion with the superficial attempts to invoke any sort of emotion, you know? So I wanted to give an example, because learning is supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be strict. It's not supposed to be one way or the other. And so this whole thing has turned into a beautiful story arc of how cognition evolves, of how consciousnness works, about human behavior. And I was trying to demonstrate how easy it is for misunderstanding to occur and how fast it can propagate if left unchecked and unaware. And so my latest video, here, let me pull it up. I actually have my computer here. My latest video, yes, when I go into my thoughts and dive into them and express them, I express them totally. I immerse myself completely into the experience, like everything else I do in life. And so that video was intended to invoke emotion. And I utilized that. Words carry multiple levels of meaning. And so because of that, I utilized words that I was aware people would click on. Because if I didn't grab their attention somehow, and people would see it as irrelevant, just like on my videos, which I talk about in all my videos. It should be obvious by now that honoring the human, right? If you're able to perceive the human beneath any belief, beautiful learning opportunities occur. You can perceive the totality of existence if you're able to perceive any human as human first and foremost, and then you can explore the beautiful art piece and mastery of their own life that they have created without judgment or bias or shaming them. And I've done that. I've demonstrated that, and people can't grasp it. Because if you look at my videos, anything that doesn't mention something that people want to reinforce about themselves, they don't click on it. They see it as irrelevant. Eastern Orthodox is apparently seen as irrelevant because it got 107 views. Although I talk about the beauty of humanity, I honor humanity. Whereas LDS General Conference experienced 3,700 views. I even titled a video, Overcoming Hate and Fear, and that only got 1K views. And I express in these things, right? My Mormon church experience got 46,000 views. And so many hundreds of comments, thousands of comments. Yet, it's as if the framework stopped there. No one within the framework wanted to learn beyond that, being like, thanks for highlighting us and honoring us in the way that you did, but we don't care about honoring anyone else. But thanks for ours. And then dismiss everything else. And even in every video, if you're able to watch it without emotionally getting tied to the story and perceive it as if you're watching a play or learning a lesson, a lecture on human cognition, on how thought, on how learning works, on how recursive mathematic principles work, which STEM has yet to discover because they're too ignorant to even perceive themselves. It's not just LDS. This is what I mean when every framework that humanity currently utilizes is incapable of perceiving the thresholds of where innovation and discovery lie within themselves. And this was me trying to get humanity to understand that and perceive the nuances of how existence works and how thought works. I'm slaying cognitive demons over here, but no one seems to want to have their cognitive demons transformed. So I'm just going to keep eating my banchan, ranting. Oh, maybe I'll have some tea. Invoke a sense of Buddhism. A tea house. Okay. So let me click on the linguistic analysis video. And we're going to talk about this beautiful parable that has occurred. Because how did this all start out? So much love and welcoming and invitation for me, embracement by the LDS community. Yet when I openly and vulnerably express myself in my latest video, people either ran away, tried to, very unique fear-driven behavior that was exhibited. And it's ironic because I gloated and boasted about how LDS literally teach people to embrace fear and vulnerability and not be afraid to express themselves because they're in a framework where they're supported. They're in a community where they're supported and loved and taken care of as a human being. It is quite clear that is not the case. Look at this. This person says, as a member for over 73 years, I have never heard that term applied to death. 99% sure LDS children have never faced that term either. What is that doing? I expressed myself openly and vulnerably, and I just got shut down, saying, your words are irrelevant. That's the subconscious meaning that's demonstrated. Now imagine, and then I responded back to just try to invoke again another layer of thought. The whole purpose of this was to help people deepen the cognitive capacity to perceive thought, to think. And it's been very catastrophically missed. Because people keep getting caught in the nuances of the surface meaning. They read things literally, and that's as far as their mind can perceive because their emotions get invoked, and they reflexively follow the emotional logic that their emotions guide them to. It's a primitive survival reflex that the human species continues to demonstrate, which is why, again, the state of the world gets so chaotic. Because everyone's so reactionary. The capacity for deeper thought to fully analyze and step back and see and be like, hey, how can we utilize this opportunity to decrease tragedy in the future? Because if anyone looked at the nuances of that video, I'm hinting at suicide. I'm addressing suicide and how easy it is for people to misunderstand things and feel as if they're insignificant and worthless and kill themselves. This is how misunderstanding propagates. And I even wrote in the comments, I even wrote in the description, apologies if there's any gaps in knowledge. Sometimes I struggle to articulate the nuances of my thoughts and actions, but that is why open dialogue is encouraged. I'm ignorant like everyone else, so please correct my misunderstanding if desired. I even point out, I even say, this is what misunderstanding looks like and how easily it can blow up and be misconstrued. And everyone fed into it. They took their flames and their words and they doused it with kerosene. And re-demonstrated how potent and powerful words and perception are and misunderstanding. Everyone missed it, completely missed it. This is what I mean by hidden in plain sight. Completely imperceivable, because when the cognition hasn't even mastered the nuances of thought, the basic rudimentary framework, they can't perceive things that are written right in front of them. And I even put behind the scenes look. I put my hat in sport mode and went to space to face my fears of being openly vulnerable with my thoughts. I even said what I'm doing, okay? And if anyone looked at one of my other videos, overcoming hate and fear, I turn my hat backwards and I explain it when I'm trying to be brave. That's my method, my symbolism to invoke that I'm standing up to fear and facing my fears and acting on them and not letting that dictate how I choose to live. This is a test run that I desire feedback from. And to be fair, people were giving their feedback, and it, again, demonstrated how easily misunderstanding occurs. And thank goodness I'm able to articulate myself and explain things that hopefully provide clarity and understanding. This is part of a larger personal diary where I write my thoughts and experiences of immersion within existence. I thank you for your contributions. If that isn't a syllabus on what is occurring, I don't know what is. I don't know how else to put that with clarity. Yet, it was missed. It was completely missed. Because then someone says, I think you should visit primary. You may see for yourself how children are taught. And I even said, it's the lack of awareness of how adults, the teachers, are influencing and shaping the future generations. This lack of comprehension, this lack of ability to perceive the ripple effect of those actions is what leads to the world looking like it does now. It's remarkable. It's truly remarkable. Do you know why school shootings are so popular? Why kids have mastered the nuances of violence and expression of thought in such chaotic ways? Where do you think they learned the behavior from? They learned it from their teachers. Everyone older than them, their teachers. Humanity as a whole is literally driving themselves to extinction because they remain unaware of how to perceive themselves. These videos were designed to help walk, yes, I am getting a little upset, irritated, perturbed. These videos were designed to help people to expand their depth of thought and perception and become aware of how important every action and word they do is. And I don't mean to invoke shame on yourself, because that's the part of learning, right? The fun of learning is that once you grasp a concept and understand, the light bulb clicks, and it's the most beautiful moment that you can have. That is a graduation. That's a beautiful celebration. And I'm making this video to help teach and explain how to increase the depth of which you can perceive and understand life and existence. And that occurs by first addressing where it all starts, which is with consciousness, cognition. And this person, I actually really loved this conversation. I apologize for the confusion. I'm a member of the church. I don't believe I've ever heard the term referred to as graduation, which is so humorous because, again, so paradoxical. Because if you look at my other videos, there's countless of people that commented and corrected me and said, no, graduation, the final graduation of death. They kept invoking graduation and death together, synonymously, like a physical death and graduation together. And I understand, right, I understand where it comes from. The purpose of this was to help people to demonstrate how impactful and the nuances of words and meaning. Because if someone compiled, and I wrote this in the comments, if someone compiled all the comments of any term from any of these videos, these parable sections that utilize the term graduation, and just list them all out, you're gonna see a beautiful fractal pattern that you can explore to the depths of eternity, right? You can make a college course on this and how meaning and perception and the nuances of cognition influence action and beliefs and human behavior. Like, there's so many built-in paradoxes, and for a little bit there, look, and then I even wrote back to her when she said that. I said, no need to apologize for learning. I clearly misunderstood from the thousands of comments I received in my previous videos that referred to death as a graduation. It was a simple misunderstanding that only needed clarification to be understood. Does everyone demonstrate now, right? Because this could have blown up into something completely out of line and this is how misunderstanding propagates. But because of how the language and how it was approached and how people approached it, even the harsh ones, I met them with understanding. I didn't meet them with emotionally derived, fear-driven behavior. And then this person's beautiful. Look what this is how thought grows, when understanding, when people feel safe to express themselves. These beautiful expressions of another, of human life, come out. And it says, this person says, it just dawned on me that how that could have happened. If I remember correctly, blah, 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 not graduating was an odd concept when it comes to religion. They may have been pointing out that we only graduate the earth school of religion when we are out of our bodies or when we transfer schools. Now I get it. On a side note, when I was 15, I decided that I graduated from ES of R. I wasn't unsure what that meant. But this person basically talked about her personal experience. And she even says, thanks for putting yourself out there. I have enjoyed the opportunity to be a part of yours. She gets it. She understands what it looks like to be openly vulnerable. And that's why I wrote a long thing back. I said, your response and engagement are very wonderful to interact with. I'm too lazy to do it, but someone can compile all the responses, comments, and words exchanged involving the word graduation that were discussed, and it would make a rather intricate fractal that cognition could explore to the depths of infinity. It's so much fun to explore the nuances of existence by exploring various aspects of even a single word and its utilization. Can everyone perceive how beautiful of a commentary and moment of learning and opportunity that has occurred from this? And I even said, plus no one is aware how much they learn because they're still immersed in the experience. It's the ability to step in and out of an experience, to go between zooming completely into the weeds to zooming completely out to a cosmic level awareness of the situation. That's what makes learning and the depth of life so beautiful. And then I go into talking about, because she said she dropped out but still got like an award. And I said, as for your side note, I don't actually understand what ES&R represents, but obviously it's associated with some type of prestigious formal education. For you to drop out and still receive awards made me giggle. Because it was almost as if the system tried to lure you to come back with treats, and you basically said, thanks, but I've already outgrown this experience and don't require it to accomplish my future endeavors. If you look at some of the most recent outliers in humanity, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, for instance, you will notice they are college dropouts. That the entire world is arguably thankful they chose to not complete their formal education. Can you imagine where we would be if Bill Gates wasn't a college dropout? If he didn't decide, I don't need this. My cognition operates on a different level, and this is not necessarily beneficial to what I desire to succeed or accomplish in my life. So I'm going to leave this opportunity and do something else. He left an Ivy League school. And look what he did. Look at that beautiful example he set for humanity. That you don't need to follow and do what other people do in order to be successful with your life, in order to achieve the impossible. I don't know if the light's brighter or if I'm like the shadow. And I even talk about it. Me personally, I was a dumb kid, man. I was not smart. Where I'm at now, bro, I had to go through the mud, and I was a bozo. So I was so insecure of myself that I chased every sort of accolade and degree that I could get behind my name. Every initial. I wanted the entire alphabet of letters and formal accomplishment to be behind my name, to signify how worthy I am of believing in myself, because I could not believe in myself. I absolutely thought I was worthless growing up, and that I wasn't able, I lacked belief in myself. And it was of my own doing, because I chose to not believe in myself. And so in order to believe in myself, to overcome my fears of not or choosing to chase my dreams, I had to do stuff to demonstrate that I am capable of this. And so I went to a lot of school. The majority of my life was literally spent in formal education. And I love it. And I tried to do another residency that was 6 years long. Because like 2 decades of school isn't enough, you know? But then, right? After 33 years, I finally started believing in myself. And I said, oh, I don't actually need all these initials. What am I doing? What am I doing? There's so much more I can accomplish than sitting in a classroom. So I quit paying because to maintain my board certification status as a dentist, because I spent a significant amount of money and time studying, preparing, getting this accolade to be considered a board certified in my career that I spent decades of my life achieving, getting to. Piece of paper to get a couple things behind my name. I even stopped paying for that because they sent me my renewal, and I said, I don't have to pay you to receive acknowledgement that you'll never take away this accomplishment from me. I did it. I don't have to keep paying you to acknowledge that I completed it. That is an accomplishment that will never be taken away from me because I physically did it myself. Even if I quit paying to utilize the name, I can still have it. I'm not going to go unembroider my clothes, my scrubs that have it on there, back when I still needed physical proof of that I'm worthy of my accomplishments and believing in myself. So I told him thank you for the opportunity. I loved it. I wrote him back a nice email. And I said, thank you for the opportunity that you have taught me and everything like that, but I no longer need to pay for this acknowledgement or this accomplishment that I've, achieved. It's like having to pay for your diploma. To have to continuously pay an organization for your own accomplishment is absurd. So I stopped doing it. Because my actions and words and my work product and my ethic, they're all physical proof that, yeah, I'm definitely board certified in that. I don't need to pay you to remind everyone of it. My words and actions do it themselves. Okay. And I just love the beautiful comments that are coming. This person, though, I found this rather jarring. I am LDS. I know the doctrine. I have no idea what you're talking about. I think that you are talking with some confused people. That's a very disrespectful way to talk about other people. Let's just put it that way. And I said, it would appear that way. It's quite extraordinary. There's a typo there. And sometimes, by the way, I purposely leave typos. I don't go back and correct what I've written because I want people to see my grammar errors, because I'm waiting for some ignorant person to comment and make a remark about it, because again, that just exposes where their cognition works at. They can't even perceive past the surface layer. But remarkably, no one's done it yet, so it's funny. I'm proud. I'm proud of humanity for that. It's quite extraordinary to experience and be aware of how easily misunderstanding occurs and propagates. Because their response is further propagating fear-driven behavior and misunderstanding. Do we see how this works? And I said, and it's ironic because it's quite obvious from your comment that misunderstanding is occurring, yet no clarity was offered beyond distancing oneself. I would have honestly expected a different response based on the interactions I've had with the members of this paradigm. I'm a bit disappointed, to be honest. It's not even about, people keep focusing and going back to talking about the literal words and beliefs of the framework. I love hearing that. But right now, what's more important is recognizing how lack of awareness and perception and being able to perceive oneself honestly leads to catastrophic cascading effects downstream. If you want an example of this, think about the concept of plastic. When it was first invented and embraced by humanity, it was the greatest invention ever. The coolest thing to hit the market. No one thought to perceive beyond the surface layer on that. Because consumerism, money, monopoly money became so fascinating for everyone that overruled basic rational thought. And now we're dealing with this trophic cascade of microplastics. And it makes me giggle. Because it's a perfect example of what occurs when awareness is not unified with understanding. Like in this video here, If you look through my comments too, you'll see me contradict myself in how I utilize the term graduation. And it's not necessarily contradicting it's contradicting myself if you look at it at the surface layer, because like, wait, in this situation, you're referring to graduation as this, but in this situation, you're referring to it as this, and then you're talking about this. And it's just like, yes, because I'm trying to see who can perceive the nuances and the overall pattern, who is able to perceive the depth and also from a height. This is how you propagate understanding. This is how you make people aware that they just experienced a real life immersive example of how a misunderstanding can be transformed into an understanding, and how simple it is to do if only you utilized words. And people can look through my comments and see, even people trying to troll me and say things, I played back and forth with them, because that's what occurs when you're able to engage with someone beyond primitive reflexes of emotional responses. Emotionally driven behavior is very powerful, very good learning modality, very good tool, but it becomes detrimental when the human cognition has surpassed the ability to maintain binary logic and those primitive driven emotional reflexes. That is how you evolve. That is how consciousness evolves. And I joked on someone too, or I mentioned that I wonder, because the predecessor of Homo sapiens was Homo erectus. And I wonder, was Homo erectus aware that it had the capacity and the potential to evolve if they only chose to change their cognition? Because what's the difference between Homo erectus and Homo sapien? Homo erectus means upright man. Homo sapien means thinking man. Now, if you were a female back in those days and you were looking for a mate to procreate with, would you rather pick a mate that was described as an erect man or a thinking man? Think about the demonstration of behavior and thought and logic that occurs in someone described as an erect man versus someone described as a thinking man. I don't even have to go into the language and the memory or the experience, perhaps, that gets invoked from even saying that word. Okay. Hopefully that provides some clarification here. It's possible to debate and discuss ideas and do whatever in an environment that's open and engaging and spoken with vulnerability. If something's not understood, just say it. It is one of the greatest acts of awareness when someone can honestly admit, I don't understand, and explain where they don't understand. And then even explain and articulate, this is how I perceive this. And I'm trying to understand where you're coming from, but I'm having trouble grasping it, especially when you went into this. Because I perceive, like, here you talked about this and here you talked about that, but you contradict yourself. Okay, then I can explain that. And I can explain why it occurred like that. But people need to speak up. People need to express themselves. That is why I wrote in the description that. But again, people get caught up in buzzwords. I could have titled that video, Childhood Suicide, Ideologies of Childhood Suicide. And I could have been like, yeah, this is an example, right? You have now a lived experience of what happens when misunderstanding occurs. I mean, look how emotional I expressed myself in that video. I was like full on vulnerable. And I created a paradox, but no one caught it. At the end, when I mentioned Netflix show Hitmakers, and no one really caught the implications of what I was implying. Like, hey, this is what happens when misunderstanding occurs. How many people have felt misunderstood in their lives and no one around them understands them? Okay, yeah, every hand should go up. This is a demonstration of how you take a place of misunderstanding, of you feeling misunderstood, and turning it into understanding and bringing everyone along the journey with you. See, vulnerability is fun when done without fear. So, I encourage everyone, chime in, look at my other videos, comment, explore it, expand your thresholds of consciousness. You know, that's all we're trying to do here. The more people understand, the more it influences the behavior of the species as a whole. Because when understanding reaches awareness, they match, behavior stops being so irrational. As in, physical violence can dramatically decrease. Physical violence and chaos dramatically decreases when understanding is met with awareness. And as you can tell, not many people understand one another across 8.1 billion people. That is all we're trying to do here. Okay. Words are the most powerful weapon. And to be able to utilize words to promote and propagate understanding is like GOAT status, man. Tom Brady can't even touch that. He only played with balls. Physical acts of violence are primitive. So primitive. To get your point across. So I'm trying to demonstrate and prove how you can invoke a state of peace just from thought, from thinking, from expressing oneself with clarity. But, okay. That's enough rambling. I hope that answers questions, maybe. Oh, one more thing. The symbolism in all my videos, the reason, right, and people, I'm trying to teach people that you can hold complexity simultaneously. You do it all the time. That's why I purposely sit sometimes in front of my wine wall. Because I'm aware LDS, they teach against drinking. They prefer not to drink and engage with alcohol. That's fine. But look at how people are able to engage and be in that environment where it's present and still appreciate it. That's what I'm trying to do too, right? Paradox is in these videos simultaneously. And no one perceives it or gets caught up in it because they're so infatuated with the story and the words. And in this video, there are multiple things that I have done, nuances and paradoxes. The subtleties, I hide them in plain sight to see who can perceive them. Like for instance, sorry, I'm almost done. I'm almost done ranting. I'm just like, I've been waiting for like a single person to pick up on all the little hidden yum treats that I've hidden in there. The cognitive goodies. And no one's perceived them, so I just gotta point them out now. It's like playing Where's Waldo? Or an I Spy book. Oh, I used to love those I Spy books back in the 90s. They were great. Like in my Mormon missionary visit, when they came over, in the photo, I had a woman in science shirt on, and one person said something to it being like, oh, that's ironic or contradicting or conflicting that you would wear a science shirt next to a cult. Some derogatory comment like that. And so I came back at him and said, it's fascinating, isn't it? There's multiple paradoxes in this photo, and I'm just waiting to see who can perceive them all. I had Jewish socks on, the Jewish Christmas socks on that I bought from a Jewish museum because I thought they were so cool. And I want to honor, again, all religions and beliefs, because there's a human beneath that. And they're all beautiful. They're all beautiful expressions of existence. So I had on Jewish socks, a science shirt, and then I was standing next to LDS members. There's so much paradox and play going on there, right? There's the contrast between science and religion. That is, you can't get much more conflicting than that, because those two can't even sit at a table together and have a civil conversation. It's like watching children fight over their favorite toy. Yeah, anyways, okay. So we'll see who can pick up on all the little paradoxes and puzzles that I've put in there. See if anyone can perceive those. Because this is all a rather beautiful exhibit and art piece on how the species has evolved. Yet they remain unaware that they've evolved. You know, it's like when Homo erectus went to Homo sapien. Well, Homo sapien has moved on to another classification. That'll become evident in the near future, but until then, I'm having fun. Cheers!